So please describe to me what the aesthetic look is exactly.
More like this guy here.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and bring
Oh wow, you really have to come in here? Is this is this really happening? He met the other guy behind you, bro. Like I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm right into that bad boy.
You can stay right there, behind the camera, behind the camera. No, see now you got me jealous now.
That's okay.
That's not
no,
fair.
But you're more in the category like Luther Richter, Arnold, okay?
My man. Yeah. Arnold Ferrigno. Huh?
Okay.
Aesthetic. That's great, partner. You two ever go outplace everything in its proper place?
That does not make sense, but we usually do go, we head to Kroger's and we work.
Oh, yeah. I've got a lady waiting for me back home also. She has the most beautiful scrotum. Oh, God. And when she sings, she sounds just like a puppy dog. How do you nail a photo?
Just gotta get in the mode. You gotta talk with your eyes.
Talk with your eyes.
Talk with your eyes. You
Okay,
gotta
so
have the eyes
can you show me a little bit of something, like to this camera? I would love to know how to do this. I just want to know.
Well,
How do you do it?
you
Teach me
smile,
something.
You can get the sexy eyes. Then you gotta get the smile going on some shoes, but
Wait, hold up.
You got.
I gotta
when
try
it's
this
time,
with
when,
you.
it, when it's
Hold
time
on.
to laugh,
I gotta try
you
this
gotta
with
think
you.
of something funny and start laughing.
Do it again. Do it again. How do you do it? Teach me.
Sexy eyes.
The sexy eye.
This is sexy eyes right here.
Smizing?
Smile.
So you're smizing.
Smile.
Okay.
And then you gotta get the.
No, I look like I need to take a poop or something.
I wish words were like little toy guns. No sting, no hurt, no one, just a bang, bang. Right?
Is that it?
Yeah, it's something like that. Just a bang,
Toy
bang,
guns.
rolling off your tongue.
Toy guns.
It's no smoke, no
Bang, bang.
bullets.
Water guns. All right.
Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high, cause St. Louis is ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold up, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live, somebody. Let's go.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Pascal Show. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I hope you guys are all having a wonderful and fantastic and marvelous Monday, y'all. It is Monday. It's time to get out your bed. Get your ass out the bed and do something positive with your day, okay? Do me that small favor. It's time to get up, get out and do something, right? Isn't that how it is? Or isn't that part of a song or something? I don't know. But anyway, I want to first off say real quick, happy Mother's Day, because I didn't get a chance to see you guys this weekend. But I hope you guys all had a wonderful Mother's Day. Got to hang out with your family, your mothers, your grandmothers, etc., and be able to do your thing. Hopefully you guys got to go out to a Red Lobster or a Sizzler, you know what I'm saying, and enjoy yourself. I guarantee you that every single Red Lobster was just slammed. All right. I mean, within the confines of the restrictions, and if you're, depending on what city or state you're in, if they've gotten a little loose with the restrictions or whatnot, you know what I mean? Hopefully you guys were able to enjoy it and not stay outside in the rain or in the heat waiting to get inside a Red Lobster. Because I know for a fact everybody and their mama was trying to get all up in there to get those cheddar biscuits. Y'all don't know about these cheddar biscuits. If you don't know about, let me tell you something. If you don't know about Red Lobster, you're missing out. You're missing out on the cheddar biscuits. You can't say cheddar biscuits. You have to say cheddar biscuits. You know what I mean? That's how fire they are. Do you understand? Okay. So, hopefully you guys are all doing well. Get those likes all the way up. Okay, I see you guys are starting to file in. There's a lot to cover today. There is so much drama in the LBC. It's kind of hard being Snoop D-O double G that we have to talk about every single piece of this stuff because there's so much that went down this entire weekend. A lot of it's not great news. I'm sorry for saying that right now. We do have some weird, quirky stuff. You know, David's got some weird, quirky stuff. No, not his face. We're talking about the articles that he has to talk about. But we also have a bunch of other stuff like Dave Chappelle. There's also a thing about Seth Rogen and James Franco never working together ever again, which is very interesting from a interview that Seth Rogen just recently had. So there's a lot of other things other than just gun violence that we're going to be talking about. So we got to jump into it. But before we get all the way up into the news and into your stories of the day, we have Breon and David in the house. What's a guan, fellas?
Hey, everything's good here, man. It's like you said, it's been a chaotic week and a lot of stuff's going on.
Oh my lord.
Yeah, unfortunately, most of it's bad, but some of it's just weird. Like animals are taking over all the roads again and crap like that. Right,
and that's a whole other like, because you know what? It's funny because we in my city there's a bear just roaming the streets. That's what I was going to try to tell you guys during the break, but I was too busy just clackety trying to get things going. But isn't it crazy, right? That there's a lion, and then there's lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my, running around, which is going to be a very interesting thing to talk about. But how were your guys' Mother's Day? Did you guys get to do anything fun? Come on, speak on it.
Not me. I mean, my mom lives really far away. I just ended up talking to her on the phone for like 3 hours, which was fine, I guess.
That's good.
That's about it.
How about you?
So for my mom, I bought breakfast, which was an ordeal in itself because I ordered it the day before and arrived, and it felt like they were only making the food for people who were just coming in and had forgotten about our order. So we ended up getting it for free, which was nice and thoughtful of them to do. But other than that, just chilled. My dad took my mom out somewhere. I'm not sure where they went, but other than that, it was a chill day.
That's good. That sounds really, really nice. You know, we did a dinner, some Greek food last night, and had a prime rib that was absolutely phenomenal. And I'm really picky when it comes to red meat because I'm really good at cooking. So, and I feel like no one can really season. That sounds so wrong. No one can season my meat the way I season my meat. Okay. And so a lot of times I'm like, why would I spend all this money on something that I'm probably going to be really, that it's probably going to taste better made by myself. But this place was absolutely amazing. The food was redunculous. And it was very impressive. You feel me? So I was very happy to do that, hang out with my family, hang out with my mom and all that. And she looked beautiful, and she always is beautiful. But it was cool to just be with the mom, hang out, and be with my entire ridiculously loud and large family. So it was really nice. It was really, really nice. But especially when you're in a relationship, it's different because you got both parents on both sides, right? But they don't live near each other. So you're driving it's like you're driving cross country a lot of times to make it for both events. You know what I'm saying? Luckily for us, we have these things scheduled out so that we can go to the one first thing in the morning and then to go to the other one in the evening. You know what I mean? So it's been yesterday worked out beautifully. Thank you, God. You know what I mean? Thanksgiving is a nightmare. Long story short, it's a nightmare because you got to be at two places at the same time, So, but anyway, so yes, Mother's Day was a very, very fun, a very wonderful experience. Happy Mother's Day to all of you guys who haven't been filed into the show or been on the show in a while. Happy Mother's Day to all y'all. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's jump into the news here. All right. So this is, speaking of Mother's Day, they're calling this one the Mother's Day Massacre. A boyfriend shoots 6 dead at a birthday party, but spares the kids before turning the gun on himself. So a man has shot dead 6 people, including his girlfriend at a family birthday party, sparing the sobbing children before turning the gun on himself in Colorado. The gunman walked into a birthday party shortly after midnight on Sunday and opened fire before taking his own life at a trailer park in Colorado Springs. Police arrived to find 6 people dead, plus a 7th who was seriously wounded and died after being taken to the hospital. Wow. So the children at the trailer were uninjured by the suspect and are now with relatives, the police said. Jonah Cruz, 53, and her 2 sons, Melvin Perez, 30, and Jose Gutierrez, 21, were among the victims. Perez's wife, Myra, 32, was also killed along with her sister, Sandra, and brother, Jose. Sandra was said to be the suspect's girlfriend. Yeah. So the Denver Post quoted neighbor Jennifer Reyes as saying she was awakened by the sound of gunfire and heard sirens before witnessing police take children out of the home and put them in a squad car. They were crying hysterically, they said. The police disclosed a few details about the victims, other than that one was the girlfriend of the shooter, and another was the person celebrating a birthday party or celebrating their birthday. Freddie Marquez, 33, and his mother-in-law was one of the victims, and that he was at the party, but left after 10:30 on Saturday. Sometime after midnight, he received a call from the son of one of the women at the party who was crying on the phone. Somebody came in and shot everybody, Marquez said, relating what had been told on the phone. Nubia Marquez told the Gazette that as well as her mother, her brothers, Marvin Perez, would have turned 31 this week. 21-year-old Jose Gutierrez were killed. Both of them were killed. The birthday party was held in celebration of Cruz and Perez. Also killed in the shooting were Perez's wife, Maria Perez, 32, Maria's sister, Sandra, and her brother, Jose. Man, so the brother, so they're saying that the shooter was the boyfriend of Sandra, but they have not. They don't know what the reason why they don't know what the motive is or anything of that sort. Of course, this article that I'm reading right now is just kind of repeating the same thing over and over again. But we do have a news clip that I feel like we need to take a look at. This happened the night before Mother's Day, it was technically Mother's Day, but it was Saturday night, late Saturday night, where this shooting occurred. We got a video clip. Let's take a look at this.
One of the things that came out since then is that everyone involved was part of the same extended family. Right. So this was one large family.
One gigantic large family, all involved in this shooting, which is absolutely insane. Like I said, let me just say this really quick. This is not the only shooting that happened over this weekend. I just want to make that abundantly clear. There was a shooting in Times Square. There was a shooting in Colorado. And then there was another shooting in Arizona, and they all happened within the span of 24 hours. It's absolutely insane. But this kind of shootings, this gun violence issue is starting to get way out. I mean, it's been out of hand. Now it's just getting chaotic. All right. But let's take a look at this news clip. This news video clip, and we'll go from there.
Also reporting tonight on another mass shooting in Colorado, this time at a birthday party overnight in Colorado Springs. Police say a man showed up at that party with a gun, killed 6 people, and then killed himself.
Colorado Springs police say the party was being held in a home in the Canterbury Mobile Home Park, just west of the Colorado Springs airport. Investigators say the boyfriend of one of the victims walked inside and began shooting just before 12:20 a.m. Police say that there were children at the party. None of them were hurt, and they are now with other family. Investigators are still trying to figure out why the suspect wanted to shoot these people and kill himself.
The Colorado Springs police chief shared a statement with media today offering condolences for the victims' families and promising the department will do everything it can to find answers. We've been working all afternoon to get more information from the police department, and we have a crew on the scene tonight.
Governor Jared Polis released a statement saying the shooting is devastating, especially on Mother's Day. He continued, quote, "Families torn apart, and at a birthday party, no less. My deepest condolences and prayers are with the victims, their families, and everyone else impacted by this tragedy." Colorado Democrats are pushing for 3 new bills to address gun violence. They were introduced in response to the mass shooting at King Soopers in Boulder less than 2 months ago. 10 people were killed in that shooting.
Okay. I keep saying this, and I'll keep saying it till I'm blue in the face. When are we going to sit down and actually get down the brass tacks on the issues that we have in front of us? This is obviously a reoccurring issue that keeps happening every single day. Now it's turning into a daily thing. You could basically say on any given Saturday or Sunday, there's going to be a mass shooting of some sort. And what's crazy to me is that this is all happening in the span of one day throughout the country. It's not like they all got the same memo. It's not like they're all part of the same group chat. these mass shootings happened. Now, I'm not covering every single one of them today because it's just too much. It weighs heavy on everybody's heart. But when you see these things, it's like, why is it so hard for both sides of the aisle to understand that there's an issue going on? Both sides of the aisle, not just one side. Why is it so hard to get people to realize that there's an issue going on that needs to be remedied with the quickness? These shootings that keep happening are getting worse. I covered a story a few days before the weekend. If I'm correct, I think it was a Thursday night where a sixth grader, 12-year-old girl took a handgun to a school and started shooting up the place, injuring 3 people. I mean, what do we get? We get what, 48 hours of rest, and then suddenly we get another shooting, or what's the word? A tidal wave of shootings throughout the country. How is this so hard for our government officials to get together, meet in the middle, and have a conversation about what we need to do with gun control? Why is this so dang hard? I'm going to throw the question out to the crew. Breon, what are your thoughts on this? You're muted.
I don't know how I'm muted.
There you go.
I don't know. I think I'm just kind of taking it in because I chose not to watch any news this weekend. So this is like the first I'm hearing of this. So I guess I'm not even processing right now, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a situation. I mean, I'm kind of repeating what I've said here, honestly, but
we all have.
Before,
we all repeated the same thing over and over again. It's all good. That's what a talk show's for. But yeah, speak on it, man. Say it. It's all good.
So, like I was saying before, basically, shootings are increasing across the board again, and this is still happening. Like we said last week, it's still increasing, obviously, because this weekend, I think, was the highest mass shootings we've had since probably January or so. I'd have to check the records again, but it's been a while since we've had one this bad. Obviously, Colorado's been ahead of a lot of these for some reason. Colorado is the 6th state in terms of most shootings. So for some reason that is focused around here. I suppose Colorado Springs is a like military town, so people are coming in and out, but you know, like this isn't just limited to Colorado Springs, obviously, and this probably didn't have much to do with it because we're looking at a trailer park where it seems like the people have been living for a while. And mind you, for people who live in, you know, like, I don't know, Cincinnati or probably St. Louis, the like trailer parks there, or at least in Colorado, aren't quite the same as you see in like a downtown area where everyone's living right next to each other and it's pretty trashy. They're a little higher quality, so like people, it's common to live in trailers in Colorado, even if you're like decently middle class or something. It's just the way it is. So like this isn't necessarily one of those lower income areas. This is like a decent area, all things considered. So this is still happening in places. I mean, one thing we've seen particularly that I've mentioned before is that a lot of these shootings are becoming targeted at family members. We've seen just the breakdown of familial ties during this entire incident with with both the government and the health problems that our nation is facing right now. And I don't think it's really, like I said before, and I've seemed to be proved right, I don't think it's going to go away. We do have a mental health problem in this country right now. And it's not just mental health problems that have been developing for a while. We also have these issues of isolation and the growing distrust amongst people right now. So this is unfortunate. Like you said, there's been other mass shootings this weekend, and of course, like half the side is still trying to politicize it. One thing the Republicans are failing on right here is that they keep trying to focus on the shootings in Chicago, even if it's like multiple mass shootings and there's only one person dead. They seem to focus on that more than these mass shootings across the country that are leaving 8 or 10 people dead every weekend. So we're not really getting the full focus that we need here. And of course, we keep hearing about gun control from the Democrats and actions that never really come to pass. We just see the threats, and then we see the gun market gain more money and gain more of a control, and more guns get sold every time the Democrats come in, and absolutely no laws are developed to prevent anything else from happening. And I mean, for instance, guns do make these cases a lot easier, right? We would have less cases if guns were better controlled. But I do not think that alone will stop these killings, because a lot of these killings are not motivated by ease of killing. It's motivated by hatred of the family, it seems like, in a lot of these cases, or at least hatred of the potential, like, extended family, because he was marrying into this family. Who knows why they were having the situation they were, or I don't know if he was marrying into it, but, he was trying to get involved into it. He's with one of the women that's in the family. And this attack probably would have happened without guns, but guns do make it a lot easier. So this is like a two-pronged problem we have to face. We have to look at why so many unstable and criminal people are getting guns so easily, and we also need to look at why so many people are betraying their families and attacking them right now, in addition to close people, close friends, and other things like that.
That is very true, because it's not the first time that we've dealt with mass shootings within birthday parties, or mass shootings within families, or there's an altercation, or a father reprimands his son. Next thing you know, he comes back, the son goes, gets a gun, and then shoots up the family because he's so angry. This isn't the first time this kind of stuff is happening. But one thing I'll say is, aside from this gentleman, this shooter, this piece of trash human being that went ahead and just shot up a whole place. And on a very morbid, positive note, at least the children were spared. No children were harmed in this shooting. But at the same time, we still have a bunch of people that still died. The question is what do we do to comb through the people that are not mentally stable, that are having mental issues, to make sure that they don't get a gun? You see what I'm saying? That they don't have a gun. But then here's the thing, though. This is the problem. This is the problem on this side, right? Here's the double-edged sword. Here's the other side of that double-edged sword. You can sit here, comb through as many people as you want all day long. Shoot, David, for example. I'll use David for example. You can go up, you can go apply for a gun, right? They go through all the screenings, all that stuff. You pass every single last one of them with flying colors. You do just fine, right? Then all of a sudden, you just have a really bad month. All of a sudden, you just have a really bad, crappy situation. Maybe I'm not trying to justify any person that goes out and pulls out a gun, but I'm just trying to point something out here. You can be totally fine that day that you walk in. Obviously, some people are definitely carry their mental health issues out there. Some people are out there that for a fact are battling with mental health all day long, every day. But what about those people that just go down the very dark rabbit hole of depression, that maybe were the happiest people ever, but because of a series of unfortunate events, you go down this very dark rabbit hole? You see what I'm saying? Even the sanest of sane, right? Even the most mentally sound person has a bad day, has a dark moment, right? So then it goes, well, what about said guy? What if he was just regular, everyday, tax-paying American that had a gun on paper, checked all the boxes, and then one day, say the girlfriend pushed him to the limit, or he was broken up with, God knows what happened, right? And mentally he breaks. Like I said, regular, average, everyday Joe that could just... And how are you supposed to be able to catch that ahead of time? We can't. It's not like we have a minority report, those people in Minority Report that can predict the future. You know what I'm saying? So how do we know? How could we fully be prepared? Because a lot of people, it's like, oh, he was a good person and blah, blah, blah. And then he just snapped. And a lot of that is what we see right now. People, quote unquote, snapping.
So
Oh, she just
I was trying to look for something that I remembered reading. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. I was looking for something that I had read a couple years ago or a few years back, and I finally found it. It was like a Time magazine article that had talked about 6 ways we can reduce gun violence in America. But there was one particular element I remembered that was of interest, and I'm not sure how relevant it is or what the research is like in 2021, but it was bullet point. It was about research that they're not providing. Right here. Eliminate funding restrictions on gun violence research. So that was the one thing I was kind of sitting here thinking about is, how much do we really know about the psychology of people, not mental health, but what leads to gun violence situations. Obviously we know gang violence. We know that, crimes of passion aren't always predictive unless there's some type of abuse going on. But if the government is reducing funding, like I see here, it was in 2007 that gun research was supposed to receive, it was $1.4 billion between 2004 to 2015, but yet it had only received about 22 million, just 1.6% of the projected amount. And so I'm just wondering if we were to, up funding and allow the CDC to do its research, because I believe they said there was another law that was created that prevented the CDC from being funded for research into gun violence. That was it was 1996. Congress, with the push from the NRA, passed the Dickey Amendment, named after its author, former Republican Representative J. Dickey from Arkansas, which mandated that no CDC funds could be spent on research that may be used to advocate or promote gun control. And I think that maybe that's the thing, is that we should be advocating to reduce gun violence. I think if we keep saying things like gun control, it's going to make people heavily resistant, when really what we really need to be doing is reducing gun violence. But if we're not putting in the research on all fronts to be able to understand the psyche of people, or to be able to be more predictive of what can lead to these events, then we're going to also continue to have problems. I think I've said this before, but I think it's a multi-layered issue. It's a complex issue. I don't think just simply saying, okay, we need to do background checks or we need to do psych evaluations is going to fix the problem, if we don't understand what within environments also lead to those issues. And if we're not funding the proper research for what goes into gun violence, then we're never going to move any further in this discussion.
David.
Yeah, I agree for the most part there. We just don't have the basis to really respond to this gun violence right now. One thing I've seen that seems effective in some places, though, of course, this is all voluntary. Some mental health places seem to have for people who have guns that are either feeling homicidal or suicidal, that don't straight up say that they're feeling that. Because if they say they feel homicidal or suicidal, I believe they have to call the some sort of care facility to hold you. But there's still a lot of instances where they see that this person is probably going in that direction and they just won't admit it. So unless they have evidence, at that point they wouldn't put them in a hospital. So what some of these places do with the program is they start offering out like these different sort of gun locks, or they offer up programs where you can have somebody who pretty much takes all of your weapons, including knives and things, and just is kind of like keeps an eye on you to make sure you're okay until whatever, like your mental health, or like the psychologist thinks you're better, or you think you're better, or whatever. And obviously, like I said, this won't work in all cases, especially the cases that are intended murder that aren't just acts of passion, because it does require the person to be voluntarily working with them, since there's no law behind it to actually go and confiscate their guns again, unless they say that they're going to commit suicide or homicide.
Right.
So I think that is one program that we could help. And I think in general, this is what we need to be looking at, because right now, like our healthcare is kind of like our prison system, where we just respond to things. We aren't trying to prevent these issues from coming in the first place. Like preventive healthcare is not where it needs to be helping people that have mental health issues. That's why so many people are having these issues during the lockdown, because they don't have that basis of stability or aid to go to when they feel mentally or physically threatened, and they have no one, they don't have that periodic like family to trust anymore, because you see a lot of these people are attacking their family, so presumably they don't trust them. And this just isn't, this is something like our prison system, where we need to treat these things before, because once you just throw these people into a system that's already falling apart, it's not really going to help. These people with mental health problems, much like the ones that have criminal problems, are probably going to get exacerbated by inadequate help and being just basically put into this group that gets semi-ignored and is just left to degenerate over time in an environment that may not be the best for them. So I think that in both of these cases, and I'm just using it as an analogy, but I think in both of these cases we do need to start looking at preventative care. We need to make sure that people have these options before they have mental breakdowns, and that we're trying to educate people so that they are aware when they're having a mental problem. Because if you're not even aware that you're having a mental problem, which is the case for a lot of these people, you're not going to be able to respond to it, or you're not going to be able to ask for help in time.
Well,
so I think our entire system just needs to change, and I don't see a good path to get there right now, to be honest.
My only problem with this whole situation is that we live in a world where mental health, I mean, yeah, slowly but surely mental wellness is starting to become a thing, you know, where it's okay to speak to somebody. It's okay to look for a professional to talk to bounce off some emotions and things that you're going through, or work things out with somebody because you're dealing with some certain things like depression, etc. But there's still a lot of people that still look at it as like, oh, if I go and talk to somebody, then I'm weak. If I realize that I have something going on inside of me that's really bothering me, and I make that known, that means I'm weak. And that's the problem that I see right now too. So it's before we can even sit here and go, okay, you know, mental health, mental wellness, let's, you know, bringing the people in the right to the right kind of professionals that can sit down and talk to those people, and etc. It starts with the person first. It starts with their internal battle as well, that realization, that acceptance that they have to go and speak to somebody. This starts there. But right now, still to this day, we have a lot of people that have that look at mental illness as more terrifying than cancer sometimes. You know what I'm saying? It's like, God forbid I have to sit down and talk to somebody. Now you're telling me I'm a loon. And it's like, wait a second, that's not it at all. You know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, making sure that the everything under the hood is running just fine, you know, and making sure that it's finely tuned. Sometimes you got to fix some things. Not everything is perfect. You know, life is not perfect. Life is not easy, especially now more than ever. I feel that there are people that are so isolated right now, that isolation that we were made to be put into during the panty. All right. All of us were put in a corner where we can't be around friends, can't be around people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whether you believe in the, you know, if you think it's fake or not, whatever. But what I'm trying to say is, no matter what, you still had people you didn't see for like a year, you know, people that you've been isolated from for a year. That could take a huge toll on somebody mentally. Then, you know, imagine being invited to a birthday party or not invited to a birthday party after dealing with something like this. You know, I can see that being very tough. I can see that being a tough thing. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that that's supposed to be the reason why you go off and do something crazy. No, No, you don't do those things, period. But I can see where somebody might break that feeling of isolation. And God knows what happens. That person could be, we don't know what was going on in that person's mind. All I'm trying to say is that it's just a terrible, like I said, we've dealt with a lot of bad luck in 2020, and it's still bleeding over, right? And I've said this before. I feel like now we're starting to see the repercussions of what happened in 2020, of being isolated, of being pushed away, of being able to not communicate the way that we're used to communicating. And that can mentally really play a toll on somebody. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But what you could say, Brion?
So, well, one, I'm kind of curious about, what are the other statistics for violence in other countries, or at least for us comparable industrialized nations. But it's also, I guess I don't want to continue to say mental health, because I think that part of it is also American culture. If if I'm going to just stick to United States, because that's how I'm going to speak about violence, there are things that, we don't teach, such as behavior regulation. There are some things that, get taught in home. There are some things that get taught where their schools have more funding. Like, if I think about growing up where I grew up, there were specialists in school that if you were feeling angry, or if you were having some, behavioral outbursts or issues, you could go to them and they could help you learn how to redirect. I think that there's things that we're not doing from a very young age culturally. We also live in a society of instant gratification. And so I think that some individuals just can't or just have not learned how to self-regulate when they don't get what they want, or when they're overly emotional. And so I feel like there's a lot of things that just aren't mental health. Like, this person had, a psychotic break, or this person has extreme trauma. Like, sometimes it's just we haven't taught skills. I remember watching some documentary about a school in England where the teachers take them through guided meditation, and they've noticed that the focus and the behavior has really shifted in the children. Even the children's ability to be inclusive and more tolerant to hostile situations has also increased. And so for me, I feel like that speaks magnitudes when we don't have mindful practices, and we don't have, for example, individuals who have two adults that they can look up to in their lives, that are actively in their lives. I think that there's a lot when you have poverty, and you have poor school systems, and you have society just stacking things on and on and on you. Then you attach food insecurity and these things when you think about violence that's happening in some of the cities or inner cities. I think that there's a lot more than just mental health being an issue. I think it's a lot broader. And so I personally don't want to paint a veil that, okay, we have to address mental health, because that's the biggest issue. Like, some people just
want to make violence,
commit bad behaviors,
exactly,
want to commit violence, and then some people just don't have the skills in order to self-regulate. Like, yes, this year has been hard, but there are millions of us, billions across the planet, who aren't committing violent acts and have had to quarantine.
True.
So, and that's why I'm saying I'm wondering what the stats look like in other industrialized nations or Western nations, as far as, is their violence increasing as people start to encounter each other? Because if that's it, then I would feel more comfortable to say, okay, well, what's happened in 2020 has led to this. But I think there's something within the U.S. culture that's problematic, that isn't just mental health, whether it's broken families, like I said, whether it's not teaching children how to self-regulate, whether it's our need for instant gratification, and on top of that, we can add mental health issues to there. But I just think it's more of a collective of things than not. Because I can tell you right now, I've been feeling emotional, but I don't want to go out and commit acts of violence against people.
Yeah, I mean, and that's very true. Not everybody wants to go grab a gun and cause chaos. Not every person that has depression or any type of mental illness, it is very true. I mean, it's true. There isn't one. It's not like because somebody goes off and shoots shoots people that it automatically means it's mental. It's mental health. It's a mental health issue. We need to talk about mental health. And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's not so paint by numbers. It's not so cookie cutter. It's a very complicated situation. It's a complicated smattering of all types of different things that are going on with these particular shootings that have been going on. Either it's a shooting, at a birthday party, or it's in the middle of Times Square, or where, they're going into a FedEx building and they're shooting up the place too. And not every single person is sitting there going, oh, it's mental health. Like the shooting in Atlanta, he blames it on sex addiction. I mean, it's so many different things for every single incident that has gone down. Only problem is that these incidents have gone on a lot, and they're going on too often, and they're happening too much to the point where we're now batting an eye. We're now getting accustomed to batting an eye towards those stories. We go, oh, okay. Oh, there's another shooting? Oh, damn. That sucks. Moving on. Can you please pass the butter? Can you pass the salt, please? And because we're so accustomed to these stories. We're used to hearing these stories all the time. So, and I understand that it's not as simple. I wish it really was. You know what I'm saying? But that's me being hopeful as hell, but I realize that, but we have to figure out what needs to be done as far as legislative, as far as bills, as far as something, so that it's a little bit harder for these things to constantly occur, because they're happening way too often. Now, we got to go into this next story. I'm going to take a break off of the shootings right now, if you don't mind. And I just wanted to show you guys this particular photo. The NRA recently posted a photo that for Mother's Day that I found rather interesting. Okay, so let me pull this up really quick so that y'all can see this. Love to hear your thoughts on this one, because this one's interesting. Okay, so before I show you the full thing, it says, Happy Mother's Day to all NRA moms. On top of the millions of other jobs moms have, NRA moms fight for our right to self-defense while also defending themselves, their families, and communities. We are forever grateful for these fierce women. Right? Not bad. Not bad. But then this is the photo. Mama didn't raise a victim with, I guess, a mom and daughter, little girl, holding on to her customized gun. So, I want to hear your thoughts on this. Okay? Is this too far? Is this tasteless? What are your thoughts on this particular photo? I know that there's a lot of people out here that are NRA all day long till they die. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Hey, man. From your dead cold hands, right? Or from your cold dead hands, whatever it is. Charlton Heston, all right? Nothing wrong with owning your own gun. I don't see a problem with that, really. I don't. As long as you're not going off and trying to cause harm to people. But this particular photo here, though, I personally have a problem with it. Don't you think that this is sending off the wrong message? Or no? Comment down below, and I want to hear from the group David, your thoughts on that photo?
I'm not too sure on this one. I don't necessarily think it's terrible or anything. Because likely this girl's already in a house with guns and everything. And I just kind of, I guess I see it as a situation where they're making her aware of how to use the guns. I mean, this is an NRA advertisement, so in reality, this is just.
You're telling me that every single other person that's ever been either shot, assaulted, etc., they're just straight up weak victims?
No, I'm just saying that.
No, I mean that's what I'm saying as far as the photo. That's it. That's what it seems to me. That's the message I feel like that it's giving, to me at least.
Yeah, I don't really get that. I guess it's just showing her how to be safe with what's in the house, and because they obviously already have these guns, it's not really unusual for kids to learn how to use weapons, especially in the like the rural areas where you use shotguns to keep like wolves out of your land and stuff. I mean, it was a little different. I lived in a city when I grew up and had access to some guns, but it wasn't in the same situation as this. Like if it was a situation where my parents were, well, actually, there's a fair parallel. My dad did have a shotgun, and he showed me how to use it when I was really young, and so that was something that shotgun was something that I never played with or used in any way unnaturally. But I did have access to other weapons when I was a kid that my parents didn't have, and messed with those all the time. So I can see this situation where at least raising the child to understand that pointing the gun at someone is going to kill them can increase safety in those areas, especially in places where availability to firearms isn't limited to your parents. Especially when we look at these children, a lot of the cases do come from kids just playing with weapons that they don't understand and end up shooting someone by accident. So I don't really have a problem with this ad, I don't think. Like I said, people have always shown their children how to use these weapons when they're younger. You could argue that it being more of an AR-15 or style is a little different, but functionally, when you're firing, it's not really that different. I got to be real. Someone could do the same work with the hunting rifle just as well, and possibly even better because they aren't. This is an irony of it, is that when a lot of times these people do use the semi-automatics, they panic and fire half their shots off into the air, which is ironically a good thing. And a lot of times that won't happen with a hunting rifle. So I think a lot of that talk between them being different is a bit of a misnomer, because it doesn't necessarily make it harder to kill anyone. It doesn't make it harder to shoot at them. It just looks different for the most part. So I don't really see a problem with this, I don't think. Because like I said, she has access to those weapons. It's good that she knows how to be safe with them. And yeah, that's really it.
You know what? I see two comments that I want to read here. They're back to back. The Pioneer and Siri both said something that I found very interesting. The Pioneer said they can't teach little children how to properly, quote unquote, use a gun because they aren't old enough to understand reason and the value of human life. Their brains haven't developed to know. Now, Siri also said the problem is the subtext. She's talking in regards to the actual photo, which is, I agree with this part. The problem is the subtext, and that reads white women standing up to super predators to me. All right, that reads. I'm sorry. The problem is the subtext, and that reads white women standing up to super predators to me. We all know what that means. So when I look at the photo, I'm seeing that. You see what I'm saying? I see it as being something completely different than it just being like, teach your kid gun safety. There's other ways that they can show that. There's other ways that they can present that. All right. And here it is. To whatever you want to do, as far as a mother or a parent in general, on raising your children, getting them comfortable and knowing their ways around a gun and how to safely and properly operate a gun, that is on you, right? But I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that slogan. I don't agree with that that ad that they put out or that flyer that they put out. Personally, I don't agree with it. Breon, what are your thoughts on this?
So I have a couple of thoughts.
Please.
I agree. I agree with both what Pioneer and Siri said, and what Siri said kind of follows along a little thinking of, like, there's an explicit meaning here, which I think on its face could be benign, if you're not reading into the implicit aspect of it, which is about the super predator. But that kind of leads me to this other perspective I hold. Do I have an issue with the image? It's the NRA. They will do what they want to do. It is what it is. It makes me think about what Malcolm X said and what my dad raised me on. Be peaceful, be courteous, but if someone puts their hands on you, you send them to the cemetery. My dad raised me to fight back. If someone were to hit me, I defend myself. But then I thought to myself, what kind of nation, this gets us back to our national culture, where we are so focused on defending ourselves from being a victim. What does that say about our violent nature? And what does that say about American as humans' belief in social systems and their connections to other people? There's a lot of talk where I need to defend myself. Like, I don't want to be a victim. I have to be a gun owner. I need to have knives. I've got my crossbow. Like, we are a weapons-obsessed nation. Period. And one of the reasons why is people say we need self-defense. We have to have self-defense. Well, why do we have to have self-defense? Why? Because too many people are violent against each other. And so why are we not asking the bigger question? Why are we such a violent nation? Why are we at this point where people believe every day I have to raise up my very young children to have to hold weapons to be able to defend themselves? Not, I want my children one day to grow up and serve in the military and know how to use a weapon to defend this nation. No, I have to defend my personhood because I don't trust the person next to me. I don't trust the person moving into my neighborhood. I don't trust the cat down the road. Like that, to me, that's a major issue. And that says, if you cannot trust your neighbor and we do not have a culture of being neighborly and supporting one another and being collective and being supportive and being kind to one another, and we have to promote messages such as mama's not raising a victim, like that tells us something. It tells us something about rape culture. It tells us something about violence in general, about assaults, about domestic violence. If you don't want to be raised to be a punk, as we say in the Black community, then we have to start asking ourselves, why are we creating environments and people that continue to commit acts of violence? And why are we such culturally a violent nation to where we need advertisements like this?
Absolutely.
We should be, more neighborly. We should be able to have a post that says, Happy Mother's Day, and men, women, and children, and everyone are together, like standing around collectively, looking like the melting pot they say we are, which we know we're not. But I'm just saying, I just find it ironic. I find it ironic that no one's talking about, or they don't talk about how they don't trust their neighbor. If you have to raise young children to have to defend themselves, you're telling them our society is very dangerous and don't trust, and keep your guns and keep your knives and defend yourself because someone more than likely will come after you. To me, that's what it says. Like, I have a brother who stockpiles weapons and talks about where they're not going to come take my guns. And if someone breaks up in here, I'm going to take my Desert Eagle and all these other weapons and cause mass chaos.
You said Desert Eagle. I'm sorry. You said Desert Eagle. Okay.
No, and I know this because my dad and him had a conversation about when he got the gun. That's what I'm saying. Is that it's like, we hold to weapons and violence like it's an extension of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that a part of our culture? Why are we so violent that mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and aunts and uncles feel that they have to raise up young children to have to defend themselves so violently?
Because we don't live in Danbury no more. Like, we don't live in, this ain't Leave It to Beaver no more. It's not like some pristine, perfect thing where the milkman comes in, drops the stuff off, and everything's all hunky-dory. It's not like that anymore. Unfortunately, we have done it has been a sharp left turn over the past, like, decade of just harsh realities.
So we're So what I'm saying is, when we get into looking at the NRA and we're criticizing what's wrong with that, we're criticizing the wound from a deeper system, Like this is just a symptom of a greater issue of a cancer. So, you know, we're trying to address the wound, and that's really not the problem. A mother with a daughter with a gun, to me, is not as much of the problem as what brings them to the belief that they have to raise up their women to have to defend themselves against violence. And that's the thing, is I think we're focusing so much on the surface when there are deeper layers to this that need far more addressing about our culture and environment.
Well said. Beautifully said. You know what? On that note, I'm just going to leave she said what she said. We're going to go into a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. This is a very quick one. We'll be right back. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.
You love peace and wellness for the holidays. Don't cancel them. Prepare, STL. Decorate. Make it as normal as you can, but slow the spread of COVID. Wear a mask. Wash your hands. Watch your distance. Prepare, STL, helping St. Louisans of color prepare and prevail.
But you see how he makes these S's in his body right here? That's where he's hanging on, and then he's moving forward with the locomotion of his ribs. That is classic Missouri rat snake right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab him before he gets into a hole. Now, these snakes are not biters. They won't bite as long as you don't squeeze them. If you just stop them like this, it'll freeze them, and then you just gently pull them back. As long as you don't squeeze them, they won't bite.
Yo, Mike, what's up, man?
Guy? Good to see you, man.
Yeah, so Sugar Fire.
Yeah.
Fully open, right?
Yeah, we're pretty much open. So you can't sit inside yet. Monday you can sit inside a little bit. We'll have 25% of the tables inside, and then we're letting it rip outside.
So I know that there's a lot of people really concerned about staying safe and all of that. So what are you guys doing in regards to that?
Well, we have extra people to clean and rub everything down all the time. Everybody inside's wearing masks. And we have those little stickers on the ground so everyone can stay 6 feet apart.
Right on.
The tables are all spaced out, inside and outside.
Sugar Fire, open in full effect right now. They're staying healthy, they're staying clean. Go get you a rack of ribs. Sugar Fire, open right now.
Thanks.
The Fur and Leather Center, providing the highest of fur and leather goods.
You're gonna perform tonight? I can't make this interview boring because this man is too exciting as a host. And I'm truly saying this, and if y'all can't do this, me and this man here is gonna leave and go somewhere else where we can get some love. I want everyone in the building to say, I love Pascal on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Wow.
Hey, welcome back, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, sticking around, and being part of the conversation. If you haven't done it yet, please hit that like button. Don't forget to crush that subscribe button if you haven't done that yet. I do this show Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, and I do an evening show on Tuesdays through Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So please go subscribe, be a part of the Pascal Show family. Of course, we have the join button down below. $4.99 helps fuel this show so we can keep giving you your stories of the day. So please, if you got $4.99, you know, a glorified $5, we'll round up. That would be really appreciated. Hit that join button and support the show. Support this channel. All right. Anyway, we got to go into this next story. Of course, there's been a lot of shootings as of late. All right. So we have to talk about this one that happened in, I love my old city, New York City. But there was an actual shooting. One thing that I feared more than anything in the world, I keep thinking in my mind, God forbid there would ever be a shooting in Times Square. And lo and behold, we had one yesterday. David's got the story, man. What to go on with this, bruh?
All right. So far, what we know from the shooting, it happened yesterday at around, 4:55 p.m. near 45th Street and 7th Avenue in Brooklyn and right by Times Square area. And it looks like the police officers immediately responded at the time. And so far, what they have released is that 2 women and a 4-year-old girl were injured, but it seems like they are recovering fine right now, at least as far as they've released. The 4-year-old girl was only shot in the leg, and I say only, but I mean, she was still shot, but thankfully It was nowhere serious. And so she's undergoing surgery at the nearby Bellevue Hospital. And a 23-year-old tourist from Rhode Island was also shot in the leg. It was also a 43-year-old woman from New Jersey was shot in the foot. Into the Bellevue Hospital for treatment. So obviously, like I said, thankfully, at least the injuries were in the legs for all of these. And so none of the injuries are fatal in this case, and none of them are too serious. We don't really know about how bad the injury is itself, but the victim should live, and that's a great news, especially considering what we just read from the Colorado Springs shooting, unfortunately. So New York Police Department just released a video and a photo to Twitter not too long ago of the person wanted in connection to the shooting. So far, a gun has not been recovered, but they did find shell casings from a .25 caliber gun at the location. This is, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but it looks like this year violence is continuing to rise in New York. I mentioned it before that 2 years ago was 20%, last year was 40% increase in violence. Looks like so far this year, as of May the 12th, New York has experienced an 83% increase in violent crime over the same period last year.
Yeah, this, like I said, violence is rising. All right. It keeps rising. This is going to be a very crazy summer. And I've been saying it in a positive way. Like, hey, I can't wait for this summer because it's going to be, you know what I mean? Everyone's going to be lit. Everyone's going to be out having a great time. You know what I mean? Some people are going to be showing off their new, quarantine body and everything. And I'm super excited about that, too. But at the same time, there is a lot of craziness that's happening right now, and it just keeps revving up. And as we start to get out more, my fear is it's just going to get worse. That it's just going to get more and more violent. But we do have a news clip, the news video clip that we need to take a look at for sure. It goes into a little bit more detail of what happened out there in Times Square. Let's take a look.
In Times Square as a shooter fires after a fight, sending people scrambling for cover as police shut down the crossroads of the world.
Everybody started running. I heard about 4 or 5 shots.
Tonight, 3 innocent victims are in the hospital, including a 4-year-old child shot while shopping for toys. And only on News 4, a tourist shot while sightseeing shares her story. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Gilma Avalos. Tonight, Times Square is a crime scene. The crossroads of the world closed after a shooting sent crowds running, crowds that have just started returning to the city. And in the chaos, you can see an officer running while carrying that 4-year-old shot in her arms. The little girl stretching out a hand as police rush her to a waiting ambulance. Another victim carried out on a stretcher just steps from the NYPD Times Square precinct. And in this next video, you can hear the gunshots as people run. Crowds of people running from the corner of 45th Street and 7th Avenue moments after that shooting. And 6 hours after the fact, Times Square is empty on a Saturday night. News 4's Anjali Hemphill just spoke exclusively with one of the victims at Bellevue Hospital. But first, News 4's Adam Harding walks us through what happened in Times Square tonight. Adam.
By the way, I just want to point something out. I have not seen Times Square that empty since 9/11. I just want to point that out. That's how serious this whole situation has gotten. Just so you know.
And still an active scene behind us here, Gilma. Very eerie to see Times Square behind us here completely shut down for several blocks as police tonight continue to investigate what led up to this wild shooting here at Times Square. Tonight we know 3 victims shot, including a 4-year-old little girl, and tonight the shooter is still on the run.
Still on the run.
Dramatic cell phone video showing an NYPD officer sprinting through Times Square carrying the 4-year-old victim, one of 3 hurt in Saturday's wild shooting.
It was right here.
Cameron Bevan and Erica Sanchez heard the gunshots.
Pow, pow, pow.
Shots fired. They saw crowds running away in horror.
You got it, girl.
As they learned a child was among those struck by a bullet.
That's the worst part.
No, I want to cry. Like a little girl. Like there was families all over taking pictures on vacation. There's like all the little characters everywhere. You don't think you're gonna hear, oh, a little girl is shot.
The young 4-year-old toy shopping shot. How many kids have to be shot before we take this seriously?
That's what I'd like to know too. But hey, apparently they're looking for this guy as a possible suspect.
Police late Saturday releasing surveillance video of a person of interest. Investigators say it all began when a group of 2 to 4 men got into an argument. That's when at least one of them pulled out a gun and began shooting.
It was a moment of confusion, then it was a little chaotic, I guess, and then the police came pretty quickly, and then there was, probably like 20 cop cars. The ambulance came pretty quickly.
But we were like a few blocks away, and the cops were like running around still looking for him. So it's like we feel like is he still out here? Like it doesn't feel safe.
Police so far haven't recovered the gun. They blocked off the area for hours as witnesses stood watching, stunned.
You don't expect something like that in Times Square.
Oh, sorry. There's more.
And tonight, the mayor tweeting out, thankfully, these innocent bystanders are in stable condition. The perpetrators of this senseless violence are being tracked down, and the NYPD will bring them to justice. The mayor saying the flood of illegal guns into our city must stop. Gilma, this shooting happening about 6 hours ago. It is not clear right now when the scene behind us will open back up, but certainly on a Saturday night, when a lot of people are beginning to return to the city ahead of the summer months, the last thing anyone expected was an empty and closed-off Times Square. Reporting live tonight, I'm Adam Harding, News 4, New York.
Adam, thank you. Let's go now to News 4's Anjali Hemphill, who's live at Bellevue Hospital.
Okay, so obviously they're going to be covering like the victims, the victims of this shooting and all that. And here it is. First off, real quick, Mike Bruno, thank you so much for the $40 super chat. I want to make sure that's abundantly clear. He says, more Joe for the Pascal show. Thank you so much, Mike Bruno, for the $40, by the way, $40 super chat. I'm just going to clap to that. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, thank you, thank you. But back into the story. Here's the thing. The last thing that we want to have, the last thing that we fear is something like this happening in New York City. That is the last thing that we want to have happen is something like this. Period. I mean, any on all U.S. soil, we don't want these kind of shootings. But in a place that is as heavily populated as Times Square, this was a shooting that was, I'm sure, whoever that shooter was probably wanting to do more damage than they actually did. So thank you, Jesus, for that they weren't able to be successful. Looks like all the victims are going to be okay. But at the same time, this does, and this is the thing that makes me fearful, because if you notice a while back in Atlanta with the shooting that happened, what happened after that? It was a tidal wave. It was a tsunami of shootings, back to back to back. And it's still continuing to this day, to the point where we're talking about this. Now my fear is that somebody out there is going to see this shooting and go, oh, I could do better than that. In any heavily populated city. That is the fear that I have in my mind. Now, the chief, when he was doing his press briefing, he said, how many children need to get shot before we start taking this situation seriously? And that's a question I'd like to leave up to everybody else too. What happened? You know what I mean?
some additional information thanks to I think it was Stacy pointed it out in chat, and I ended up finding another article that's a little more recent. So it looks like the shooter was his name is Farrakhan Muhammad. He is a 31-year-old person from New York. It seems like he was selling CDs beforehand, like bootleg type CDs, probably DVDs too. And it said that so apparently he was aiming for his brother when he shot the 3 innocent bystanders. The sibling later, that the one that he was shooting at, that sibling later told the police about him, and also the New York Post. So they ultimately ended up finding him because of his brother's notes, or at least they're still hunting for him, but they know who they're looking for now, basically because of the brother. It looks like they do have some surveillance video of the scene. It occurred at just before 5 p.m. However, they didn't have a good face image at the time. They ended up getting a photo from the brother or one of his family members, which they are now using to look for the individual. So the brother said when he called them, he identified himself as the brother, and he ended up telling them that his brother had been aiming for him during the shooting, and that they were not involved in a stabbing that also occurred. Seems like that was between the two of them. So right now, the New York Police Department is currently looking for Farrakhan Muhammad, and they do not necessarily know where he is. They expect that he's still within New York somewhere. In the past, he's been busted only once before for a crime. It was pretty minor. Well, it was for allegedly assaulting a random passerby on the street after Muhammad was hassling another couple. So basically someone came up to intervene. He was apparently being rude to others, and then that led to a fight that he got temporarily arrested for. It doesn't say what his full-term sentence was. So this is all we know about him for now, basically. So this just came from his brother. They're still looking for the guy. They do not have him. They do not have his photo out. And that's about it. That's all the additional information they've released so far.
Yeah. I mean, somebody just said on Facebook, I'm trying to grab this real quick. Tim said something on... Tim Ingram said this. Tim Ingram said, happens every day in New York City. Never a shooting in Times Square? I don't know. Yes, I get that there are heavily populated cities that have shootings that happen every day, that there's violence on people every single day. There's muggings. There's all kinds of things. You name it. It is New York City, or it is a heavily populated city. But at the same time, when you hear something that happens inside of Times Square, where it's a heavily populated area, yeah, that sparks interest. That sparks concern, because that could be a foreshadowing of what could possibly come in the future. If we're already having all these shootings at massage parlors, a FedEx building, birthday parties, I mean, man, now we got Times Square. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that this was like 7 people dead and, so on and so forth. But at the same time, that does spark concern for the safety of regular people that are just walking around, or civilians that are just walking around being touristy, looking at the flashing lights in Times Square. And Times Square is such a beautiful part of New York City. And I would hate for it to be completely shut down because of consistent acts of violence like this. Now, of course, the victims are okay, and that's amazing. That they got the luck of the draw in this situation. But at the same time, it is something that should concern New York City. The government officials, the powers that be, Mayor Bill de Blasio, they should be much more concerned about things over there. Now, DOD said shut it down. I don't think they should shut it down. I just think that there needs to be a little bit more focus on those areas. If we're already seeing a trend, right, a rhythm, a pattern here, where we're seeing nothing but shootings after shootings after shootings over and over and over and over and over again, we have to be careful about where we are nowadays. It sucks to even think that I got to go to a supermarket and keep my head on a swivel. That ain't fun. But it feels like we have to be nowadays because you just don't know when some chaotic thing is going to start popping off. The main spot that they should be focusing on are these heavily populated areas for sure. Because it could get worse. Especially like Times Square, etc. You know what I mean? Brion, what do you think?
I don't really think my thoughts about all this violence and stuff has changed just because we've moved into the Times Square shooting. I am curious, and I don't know if David has the numbers, but what is the violent crime increase looking like for 2021 compared to the past previous years?
Like how much has it grown? Like this time last year, how much has it grown since then?
Right.
That's a good question, Brion.
Because I'm looking at some stats here, and it's really interesting because there are cities on this list where I think like Kokomo, Indiana, I think it is like 144.6% change in violent crime in the past 5 years. I mean, it's cities like Eau Claire has been increasing, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Casper, Wyoming, plus 55%. I mean, these are not just cities where, you know, we're not thinking like major cities, you know, Chicago, New York
heavily
City,
populated.
Heavily populated. I mean, these are areas where I'm like, wait, what? Like Racine, Wisconsin. I'm like, I mean, like the crimes are increasing across the board, all over the U.S. And these are just the top 25 as of February 18, 2021. I guess so. I'm just kind of curious what it's looking like overall for the U.S. in past years.
That's a good question. I guess he's looking it up.
So I don't have I don't have the exact number here, but it looks like overall, this is including non-violent crimes. Overall, non-violent crimes have decreased by 43%, but the numbers aren't exact on how much violent crime increases. If you just take the main violent crimes of murder, aggravated assault, rape, and robbery, has increased by about 20% over the past 4 years. If you also add the other three that they consider violent crimes of larceny, burglary, and motor vehicle theft, it actually goes down a little bit. So that's why I'm only pointing out the severely violent ones. So if you consider the severely violent ones, and I'll repeat them again, it's murder, aggravated assault, rape, and robbery. We have seen about a 20% increase over the past 4 years.
Hamburger.
Okay.
How much percentage? 24?
About just about that. Yeah.
Since the past is in the past year. Right?
20% in the past 4 years. Sorry. Yeah.
20%. Okay. Throughout the entire country.
Yes.
Okay.
This is the average from the FBI. So
all right. Still.
And this doesn't necessarily include all of the local violent crime. It should include most of it, but this is compiled by the FBI, so it does have to make it up to the federal level for it to be in this list. So there are some smaller local incidences that may not be included in this data.
So, like I said, I mean, or like we've been saying, I mean, there has been a heavy increase in violence, and it's, you know, you got to remember, before the pandemic happened, before the panty started going off, people started buying a whole lot of guns. They got so much guns and so much ammo that they ran out of ammo. They ran out of ammo for the guns. You feel me? So, with that being said, I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm not surprised about the amount of violence, the increase of violence, of gun violence in America right now. Not surprised at all.
It's not just, you know, because we've ran out of ammo and guns. I mean, some of that comes down to shortages of materials that occurred, you know, during 2020. but also, I mean, who are we holding accountable? I mean, I think that's one of the frustrating things to me is like we are blame game all day long, and very little talk of accountability, whether it's holding our politicians accountable, holding our family and friends accountable, our neighbors, our community accountable. I feel like I'm not hearing enough talk about accountability. Accountability for our broader society, accountability for our own actions and the actions of people that we have some influence over, and that's typically family and friends. I don't think it's just weapons and ammo sales have gone up and therefore there's more crime. I think that it's correlated, but correlation doesn't always mean causation. But like I said, that's a surface thing that people buy it out. But who are we not holding accountable, and why are we not holding them accountable?
It's a good question. It is a very good question. If only we had the solution for that. If only we had the answer for that, right? Now, I mean, it is insane that the amount of, like I said, I wish there was a way that people could put the guns down and, I don't know, punch a punching bag or something like that. Just find another way to get their aggression out. Do some jujitsu. You know what I mean? Do something that just gets that physically out of your system. You know what I mean? Flush it out. Go work out. Run a mile. You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, we don't live right like that right now. We just have people who think that the solution is grabbing a gun and just and start pulling the trigger. And it's unfortunate. David,
there have been some changes in how the FBI is doing background checks now as well. I mentioned before that last year it took me, I think, about a week for my rifle to go through the background check. It looks like it's up to 3 weeks in some places now. So what the FBI has started doing, and this was about maybe 8 months ago, they started allowing electronic fingerprints and to use third-party sites. So you can now get your FBI background check done. I mean, it still goes through the FBI, don't get me wrong, but now you can do your electronic fingerprints online through a third-party site, and then that third-party site will put it forth for the FBI to look through. And this is kind of a problem. This is what I've talked about before with gun shows where there's not proper there's not proper control over the weapon the entire time. You don't necessarily know who you're actually selling it to because these unverified things can be faked. And this is a problem that I said that needs to be addressed within gun shows because of that, because of weapons getting to people that necessarily shouldn't have them. And I think that this process that they included about 8 months ago only exacerbates that issue because now there's even less of a control overseeing who is applying for the firearm. And now, of course, it would be fraud if they lied, but of course, criminals are going to lie to get weapons, or they're going to steal them. I mean, this is one thing we know for sure, that most criminals do not care if their weapon is legal or not. But this does make it easier for, say, organized violence or people who want weapons in case they need to engage in illegal violence but don't plan to get those weapons and have them out there. So this is a relaxing of the FBI background checks that I think is very bad right now. And it's at a time when we should be looking at restricting firearms more. But even under Biden, we've been seeing these processes continue to weaken the verification process of people buying firearms at gun shows and now online. At least getting their background check online. You can buy them online, but you have to pick them up at a specific facility. However, the background check can be done through these third-party sites, so that's less guarantee of preventing fraud and preventing people, basically criminals, from getting guns directly.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier, or it can be a little bit easier for them to obtain a gun, especially if they have a tarnished, or if they have a track record, a rap sheet, etc. It's there are definitely different other ways that someone can obtain a gun for sure. you know. Yeah, I guess that's just kind of where we're going to have to leave that story at for right now. And like I said, guys, I would just say just be careful out there when it comes to these stories that we keep seeing every single day. Obviously, there's a pattern, okay? I just say, and I hate to say that because, you know, as soon as you start to put your guard down and have a great time and let loose and enjoy your summer, something crazy and violent happens. And all I can say is just keep your head on the swivel, you know, especially in heavily populated areas. You know, for a fact, everybody and their mama is going to start, as soon as these cities start to relinquish some of the restrictions that we've dealt with for the past year, there's going to be a lot more people wanting to get out, show up and show out. You know what I'm saying? Some people are going to be showing up in their Sunday best when it's a Wednesday. You feel me? And all I can say is we just have to be safe. Just keep your head on a swivel. And hopefully this wave of violence starts to slow down or shut down completely, you know. But we got to do a little bit of a left turn because we got to talk about some pop culture news. You know what I'm saying? So this is something I found very, very interesting. Okay, so if you don't know who Seth Rogen is, not Joe Rogan, Seth Rogen, he's a comedian, writer, director, producer. He sounds kind of like Kermit the Frog when he speaks, I mean. You know, he's got a funny laugh and he's like the ultimate stoner, right? He did a bunch of movies with James Franco, like Pineapple Express, The Interview. He has also co-written and produced a bunch of movies with James Franco. Now, James Franco was basically on the cancel culture chopping block because of the wave of the Me Too movement. He was accused of sexual misconduct, and there was a lot of sexual misconduct allegations that were put on him a while back or last year. And now Seth Rogen, who, I mean, literally, they are like the bestest of friends, right? Or at least they were. Seth Rogen has now come out in an interview and says he has no plans to work with James Franco following sexual misconduct allegations, which to me says a lot. Okay? Like I said, they've been friends for a long time. They were on a show called Freaks and Geeks or Geeks and Freaks. I forgot how the title, but it's like Freaks and Geeks, right? They've been friends since then, you know, and they've done a bunch of movies, really funny movies, by the way. But now he's sitting here saying that he plans on not working with James Franco, not anytime soon. Let's just say that. So Seth Rogen has no plans to work with frequent and longtime collaborator James Franco following the sexual misconduct allegations against the actor. Rogen said he regretted saying in 2018 he would still work with Franco following the allegations, which Franco has denied. By the way, Franco also did settle things out of court with one of the allegations as of late, just so you know. Okay, Rogen also expressed more remorse over a 2014 SNL joke about Franco dating an underage woman. The interview addressed an April Instagram post by actress Charlene Yee, in which she said Rogen enabled Franco on the set of the 2017's movie The Disaster Artist, the last project they worked on together. When asked about Yee's allegations, Rogen said, "What I can say is I despise abuse and harassment, and I would never cover or conceal the actions of someone doing it or knowingly put someone in a situation where they were around someone like that. However, I look back at a joke I made in Saturday Night Live in 2014, and I very much regret making that joke. It was a terrible joke, honestly, and I also look back at the interview in 2018 where I comment that I would keep working with James. And the truth is that I have not and do not plan to right now." So, as we already know, like I said, these guys were like the bestest of friends, okay? Working together, making some really great movies, in my personal opinion, I thought some of their movies were pretty good, right? I guess in a way, they did a Pineapple Express. It was kind of like their own version of Cheech and Chong in a way, and it did very, very well. Especially the interview where they go out to interview Kim Jong-un, another successful movie, and so. Joe Rogan. See, I even did it. Seth Rogen added the timing for the end of his professional relationship is not a coincidence. So in 2014, Franco, then 35, made headlines after he propositioned a 17-year-old girl on Instagram and apologized. Rogan joked about the incident on SNL, with Franco joining him on stage. In 2018, 5 women made allegations against Franco of inappropriate or sexually exploitive behavior, which the actor denied. 2 students who described the behavior in a class Franco taught, at his Studio 4, settled their lawsuit with Franco in February. What am I saying? So, Franco was not. Sorry, Rogan was not specific about how the allegations have affected his longtime friendship with Franco. I don't know if I can define that right now during this interview. I can say it. It has changed many things in our relationship and our dynamic. And there it is, y'all. James Franco and Seth Rogen are no longer working together. And obviously, to me, that says a lot. The fact that Seth Rogen's like, I'm not working with him right now. I'm just not working with him. Clearly, the allegations, he might know something. I feel like he knows something. That's what it comes off as. This is what's coming across as. Seth Rogen knows a little bit more than the media knows, than the general public knows. And he's going, okay, I'm good. I'm chucking up the deuces. I'm good. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's not a good sign either, because that means he's hiding that information on his behalf. If he did, in fact, molest or whatever these women. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very weird. It's very, very weird. But at the same time, I feel like it says something. It says something because we don't know Seth Rogen's, what he does behind closed doors and how he approached women and all that stuff. I don't know what he's like, right? Neither do I know anything about James Franco, but the amount of allegations that have come across James Franco's table right now are pretty astonishing. And the fact that he's done a lot of settling outside of court feels like there's something else going on as well. Is that an admission of guilt, settling outside of court? Or no? Brianna, what are your thoughts? You're muted.
So, I personally think that Seth Rogen probably knew more, or at least perhaps James had admitted more to him. I think that he is probably more in the know, at least now, to make those decisions. But I think it's really important that people in general continue to stick up for and stand firm in not supporting bad behaviors and not supporting people that commit to bad behaviors. And I think that it's probably a better option for Seth Rogen to part ways, or at least put on hold making any more films with him, because A, it's about reputation, but B, you have to set a tone and say, if you believe victims and you don't support violence against women or abuse, or you don't support manipulation, if you believe all those things, you have to walk in that, and you have to stand firm in that. And I think that if he's choosing to stand firm in that, I think it's really important, because for one, Hollywood seems to be the one place where people get away with bad behaviors. And if we want to hold actors and actresses account for anything, we have to hold them even to the people that they associate with, because oftentimes what we're hearing now is more people know about these situations than people let on to. I mean, we think about Epstein in some way, shape, or form, and how so many prominent figures and men have been involved, and that we have to continue to hold people account, people who have influence, people who have wealth, people who can make decisions over our lives or our entertainment, or for whatever reason. I think we need to just start pushing, saying, we're not going to support you if you continue to, I feel like, protect predators, protect violent people, protect criminals. I just don't tolerate, maybe for me personally, I just don't tolerate toxic people, and won't support individuals that support toxic people either.
True. And
friends or not.
And that's very, very true. Real quick, somebody just said, I don't even know who these guys are, so I just wanted to pull up a photo of them. This is who they are. This is Seth Rogen right here, and this is James Franco. All right. So if you guys may not know their names, but you might recognize their faces. You see what I'm saying? And Seth Rogen, is like the ultimate stoner, and sounds like Kermit the Frog. Oh my God, this is happening! I can't believe it. This is what he sounds like.
Yeah, I think like their most popular recent movies are like The Interview, Sausage Party,
yes.
Disaster Artist,
Disaster Artist,
actually.
Yeah, The Interview as well. Pineapple Express, you know what I'm saying? So they've done a lot of movies together, like a gang of movies together. And they met on the set of Freaks and Geeks, became fast friends, and they just started making movies together ever since then. And now that he's sitting here going, I'm good on working with him. I'm good. Yeah. Says something. Yeah. It really does say something. So go ahead, David.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they've had a close working relationship for almost maybe 20 years. I don't know the exact, but it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And they've obviously, for those who don't know them, they have been fairly successful, especially financially. They made a lot of money.
Oh, extremely.
And critically, they've been mostly successful for that as well. I mean, some of their movies like Sausage Party that get... it's just like basically sex joke after sex joke. So some of them are lower brow than other ones for sure. But the fact that they do have, like, Seth Rogen is in those movies where he does make like sex jokes and occasionally jokes that might get you canceled elsewhere nowadays. Like the fact that he does that and is okay with it and still wants to back away from James Franco the moment this came up, it does kind of suggest to me that there might be something real here, or maybe he just thinks that there might be something real here, because who knows for sure. If Seth Rogen wasn't there to see it, to be honest, they were probably high when they were talking about it, so he might not even know entirely what James Franco did. He might just have an idea and want to back away from him, or it could just be that he's afraid of getting mixed into something, even if it's not true. But I kind of lean towards there has to be something more than just the base allegation. At least he thinks something might come of it, because otherwise, like I said, they've had an incredibly successful career, especially financially.
Yeah.
And they've pretty much been, I think you could say, almost partners, if not straight out partners for sure, because they have they've not only produced a lot of these movies together, but they have developed the funding together. So they're very close, at least as far as a professional relationship goes. So there's got to be something significant here, I think, for him to actually give up on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because you also got to remember, he's trying to secure the bags too. So you got to put that in consideration as well, where he's like, I have to continue making content. I got to keep making movies. I still got to keep producing TV shows and all that stuff. Like he's involved in a lot of stuff. He's more behind the scenes nowadays than he is in front of the camera. And so when it comes to that, he's most definitely trying to secure them bags for sure, without a doubt. It's like, I'm not working with him anymore, or I'm not working with him for now, and maybe until either he goes on an apology tour, on his redemption tour or something like that. You never know. Or like I said, he might know something more that's going on. Maybe he is as bad as these women have been accusing him to be, But I feel like on top of everything else, he doesn't want to get caught up in the wave of being canceled too, because he's got to secure the bags in some sort of way as well. So it's about money too. It's all about that monies. He making the monies, okay, for sure. We got to jump into the next story though. Real quick, we got something random. You said something about lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, running through where, bruh? Where's the tiger running through?
It's through Houston right now, and it's not by itself. It's got some other animal friends going through the area.
Oh wow, Madagascar.
So, yeah,
just hanging out, lemurs and stuff.
Yeah, just walking through highways apparently in downtown areas. So,
you know what I mean? No Lion King in the city.
I'll send you the article. It's got some pictures and videos in it. But basically, what we're seeing is that animals are kind of taking over the roads in Houston right now.
Bruh.
First off is a Bengal tiger, which we got a video of. Just the video I think was recorded yesterday. The most recent one anyway. It was recorded by an off-duty sheriff's deputy who had it at gunpoint, and eventually they ended up pretty much having animal control come and arrest that tiger. A viewer did end up sending in a video of the tiger outside his home on Sunday, which it should be at the top of what I sent you, I think. And so the Houston police said that the report was initially filed at 8 p.m. Near Ivywall Drive, near Highway 6 and Memorial Drive. And in the video, you can see the officer trying to arrest him. Arrest the tiger, I mean.
Are you serious?
And,
wait a second. You sent me. Where did you send this, bruh? Because I don't see it nowhere, bruh.
I just sent it over Twitter again.
Okay, yeah. Resend it to me real quick. Because that's funny.
All right.
That's funny.
Second here.
No problem. Take your time. We're not waiting.
Right, there you go. Tiger at the top.
Okay. Oh. I lost all y'all. What the heck happened? I lost them all.
Tiger.
Okay.
And,
we lost every last bit of what you just said. Right after you said I sent it to you, we lost everything. So start from where you
All right, so I just sent you that video, and so basically this tiger was called in by locals, and the officer came to arrest the tiger, and you can see this in the video recording of the nearby person who I believe was the one that initially called the Houston Police Department in the first place to come and arrest the animal. The animal does have a living in an uninhabited building, so it may have been a pet in the past. And so they've also had other issues in Houston. They had a cow that was crossing I-10 East just about half a week ago as well. And later in the same day, an alligator was spotted crossing the Fred Hartman Bridge in the area. And there has also been a what is this? A cow. Okay, so there's a cow that was also caught in a suburban area after a rainfall, also within the past 2 weeks. So,
Hilarious.
Like I said, animals are taking over Houston again.
All right, so we got, and also there's a bear, or at least last night or yesterday, there was a bear that was loose in St. Louis, just walking around because there's been a lot of construction as of late. And so they're trying to find other places to live right now. They've been evicted by the man. Okay, but let's take a look at this. This has got to be good.
Not something you see every day. A tiger on the prowl in a Houston neighborhood. A viewer sent us this video yesterday, and Lauren, this is really, it brings a new meaning to the term wild story.
Yes, it does, Xavier.
Can somebody get this anchor, please?
Yeah.
Please. Just go sit down. Why do they get super corny like that? Sorry for the left turn, but why? Why did they get super corny? This is a wild story. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, a tiger. And strangely, this is not the first time we've done stories on giant cats roaming the streets here in Houston. More on that in just a sec, but yes, look at this. So this is Ivy Wall Drive in the Energy Corridor. You can see a tiger with a collar on it, just roaming around this front yard, lying down, hanging out, clearly not fazed by people around it taking video. At one point, though, someone who we're told is an off-duty sheriff's deputy comes out. In fact, we've just gotten the first listen to the emergency dispatch radio traffic as that deputy confronted the tiger and its owner.
This is about a tiger. I'm on the phone with the caller who's the sheriff's office sergeant, and he's trying to, he's holding the owner, and the owner is trying to leave.
Okay, so eventually the owner does usher that tiger back into the home, but a lot of questions here, like where is that tiger now? The answer is we don't know. According to neighbors, shortly after that 911 call, the guy in the video put the tiger back in the car and then took off before HPD arrived. Another question, is this legal? Do you have to worry about your neighbor having a tiger as if you don't have enough to worry about? Well, the answer is yes. Tigers and other dangerous animals are allowed in Texas if they're registered with local animal control or the sheriff. You also need the proper paperwork and you need animal insurance, just to name a few. But, and here's a big but, they are not legal within Houston city limits, which is where that tiger was over the weekend. So if this situation seems like deja vu, this might be why. Remember this huge tiger found in southeast Houston? This was in a home nearly 3 years ago. It was badly caged in what appeared to be an abandoned house. This big guy, nicknamed Tyson, was eventually taken to an animal sanctuary and is hopefully roaming happy and free somewhere safe today. But yes, as far as this latest tiger situation, I have a feeling there is more to come on this story stuff.
Wow. Like, I saw a tiger. Remember that stuff? Remember Tiger King? Yeah.
I did not watch that.
You have not watched, man. You had a whole year of quarantine. You didn't get bored.
Too white trash for me, dude.
Wow, that's heavy, bruh. He said it, not me. He said it, not me. But it's funny to think that there are actual people owning tigers in their homes. I think that's crazy. I literally think that's crazy. And of course it's Texas. It's Texas. It's Texas, baby. But at the same time, like, the only time you should ever be worried about a tiger being in somebody's home or somebody owning a tiger is when you're trying to break into their home. That's the only time you should ever be worried. That's what I think. You know what I'm saying? Now, if they can legally, obviously he was not within the parameters of the area he was in, so he probably is illegally owning that tiger. But at the same time, if you want to own a tiger, man, shoot, that's on you. Just lock them up. How do you let a tiger get out like that? How does one let a tiger run free like that? You see what I'm saying? How do you forget to latch the door? You know what I mean? Close the cage or close the door. You know, when you know you have a vicious monster of a predator that could possibly just exit and just maul a little child. Just thoughts.
I mean, that's a lot of times these people who take wild animals as pets do end up someone getting injured. I mean, I think it was 2 years ago. I mean, it's just the one I remember most of all was that someone had a chimpanzee, I believe it was. It may have been another type of ape, but I think it was a chimpanzee as a pet, and it eventually ate her face off. So you don't want to keep wild animals as pets because they will eat you.
I saw I heard the 911 call of that story, and it's insane. Yeah. Her entire face got ripped off. I mean, that's the thing. You don't go and like wild animals are wild animals for a reason. They're called wild for a reason. You know, this isn't like some dog that just lost his ish. You know what I mean? This ain't a dog that just went Cujo on somebody. This is an actual wild animal. You know what I'm saying? That's insane. That's insane. You know what I mean? Oh my God. But yes, that's a crazy story. And thank God that the owner was able to get the tiger and take off, whatever. But like I said, he better have that place on lockdown from this point on. You know, I'm surprised he was able to find him. That's the question. Where does that man live? Because he was able to find him that quickly, which is crazy. So that means he lives nearby. That could be very dangerous, y'all. That could be very, very, very dangerous. All right, we got to go into our last and final story. You know, as you already know, Elon Musk was on SNL this weekend. I don't know if you guys saw any of it. I saw like 2 seconds. I saw 2 skits on YouTube. And from what I saw, it's he was there. And he was on SNL. Yeah, that's what I could say about that. But there was a lot of different things that happened. A lot of people were predicting that Dogecoin was going to explode, go past $1. In fact, it dropped during his performance on SNL. Maybe it's because of his performance. I don't know. I think it is because of his performance, personally, because it was, yeah, you know. You got to check out some of the clips for yourself, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But there's a lot of people that were very upset about him hosting SNL, right? They've been like revving this thing up. People have been talking about it. Allegedly, people of the SNL cast were having issues with him being on the show, etc., etc., etc. So Dave Chappelle had something very interesting to say about this whole thing. He said, and I'm going to throw it over to David here in a second, but Dave Chappelle said he bashed SNL, saying that no one is woke enough. We do have a video clip. I'll show that here in a second, but Dave has got the backstory. What is up with this, man?
All right. So like you said, Dave Chappelle ended up showing up on Joe Rogan, which is, I think, the first time he showed up in there in almost a year now. He did it last time was just before his George Floyd tour, I think. So this is the first time he's been on there a while. And so Joe Rogan was basically just asking him about things in general. And then Rogan himself ended up speculating that people felt Musk was a problem because of his comments downplaying the COVID-19 pandemic. And basically, at this point, Rogan said that no one is woke enough. And he goes on to say they can't appreciate the fact that you're dealing with literally one of the most brilliant men he's ever lived, and he's going to come do your show, he went on. Chappelle ended up responding to him, and he said that the reaction to Musk is puzzling, and he pretty much just agrees with Joe Rogan and says, yeah, no, like you say, no one can be woke enough. And so basically what happened is just Elon Musk was the host on Saturday Night Live, and a lot of people were angry that he was showing up because of his previous statements about things we're not going to talk about, but basically related to the epidemic and the ways of treating it.
Right.
And some people were angry about the things he said, as well as a few of his, I guess, personal political views. But he's been kind of ostracized by some on the left because of these views, and that's kind of where this negative feedback is coming from. SNL has been generally considered more left. I mean, like Chappelle and Joe Rogan here say no one's too woke for them. So obviously they kind of are leaning further left than even Chappelle is. And I think it's fair. Chappelle has made it clear, I think, that he is on the left fairly solidly. So it's not like he's just there agreeing with Joe Rogan, who is generally more on the right, I would argue.
Most definitely more right-leaning than you may think, for sure. And yeah, I mean, let's just play the clip. We got a clip. Let's take a look at this clip really quick before we continue.
No one is woke enough. They can't appreciate the fact that you're dealing with literally one of the most brilliant men that's ever lived, who's going to come do your show.
I thought there was going to be. Well, this clip.
COVID.
Okay, there we go.
There was some people that felt like he dismissed COVID's danger at one point in time. They didn't like him because of that, but he did it just because he's intelligent. Because his perspective was, he's a reductionist, or I should say, like his perspective on it was like looking at the numbers and looking at what it is as a thing, instead of looking at the emotional impact of people losing loved ones and.
Like you say, no one can be woke enough. You know, I'm torn because I like a warrior for a good cause, but I'm really into tactics. You're not going to nag people into behaving
right
in a way that's, you know, in fact, if you continue with this tone, even if you're right, you'll be very hard to hear.
Chappelle has a good point here. I mean, is there more to this, or no? There's not. So anyway, he has a point. Dave Chappelle has a very strong point there, and you know, I feel like we do live in a time where it's not what you say; it's how you say it. Sometimes that it suddenly becomes a thing where people are looking at the intent instead of the actual, like, not the intent, but they're looking at the delivery rather than what the message is trying to be, what the message they are trying to set across to you or send to you. But we do live in that time where we're not really listening, because we automatically know especially if it's coming out of this particular person's body, we are quick to turn them off because we already know where they stand in our minds. We're like, oh, we already know he's right-leaning, or he's left-leaning, or he's an extreme this, or they're extreme that. We're quick to not listen to see what they have to say. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's a very interesting perspective. I always like listening to Chappelle talk because I mean he thinks outside the box a lot of time and lots of times, and he's a deep thinker. And yes, I think he's funny when he wants to be. But when it comes to this kind of situation, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Breon, what do you think?
Okay, so I had to take myself off mute.
No, you're good. You're good.
I don't disagree with Dave Chappelle's assertion about, like, not, for example, not nagging people into submission. For me, I think that's a critical point. But every day I wake up, I'm starting not to like the woke-divist culture more and more, because oftentimes they're supposedly, warriors for other people while doxing and harassing and sending death threats and canceling other people. I mean, how can you be the very person that you say that you despise? Like, to me, that doesn't make any sense. Like, if you want acceptance, you can't bully other people into accepting you. You can't use harassing language in order to force people into accepting. And I think that I don't know necessarily kind of how I feel about like SNL and Elon Musk, but just sticking with what Dave Chappelle said, that's more of where I stand.
Yeah, it's interesting because there is a part that I wanted to show you guys, because there was a piece that that wasn't in that whole clip that I thought was very interesting. And this is a clip that I want you guys to see really quick before we wrap up the show. Whoops, let me do that again. Let me try that again.
Yeah, fuck politics, man.
Yeah.
Like, literally, that's feckless. I'm telling you, I'm on my kindness conspiracy. As long as I'm kind to people, like, if we live by an ethic of kindness, if we foster trust amongst each other, it will matter less what corporations and politicians say, because we'll be able to trust our society's cohesiveness.
Yeah.
I want to rewind that one more time. I want you guys to hear that part.
As long as I'm kind to people, like if we live by an ethic of kindness, if we foster trust amongst each other, it will matter less what corporations and politicians say, because we'll be able to trust our society's cohesiveness.
Yeah.
But if you politicize these things, it's going to become increasingly difficult to come to an understanding and agreement.
By the way, I mean, he ain't wrong. What he's saying ain't wrong. What he said here is clearly things are already politicized. I mean, shoot, we're at the place where wearing a mask or not has been politicized. To get the poke or not to get the poke is extremely politicized. Who your opinions on listening to Trump or Biden or whether you, I mean, is getting everything's becoming so trivial. The little things in life right now have become extremely polarizing. He ain't wrong. He ain't wrong with that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, whether to get the pineapple blast or not. Okay? Whether you are vegan or want to eat meat. Extremely polarizing.
And I think it's so difficult when people get attached to whatever political party they're in. It's very difficult for them to disagree with that party, and so easy for them to go along with it, and then so easy for them to hate the people that are opposed to it, the people that are on the other party. It's such a binary thing. It's so dumb.
It's also a cold thing to do in front of all of us.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people feel that way.
No, most people don't.
No.
But when we're talking in groups, that's when it gets weird.
Right.
Talking in tribes.
You heard that, right? I'm going to continue, but you heard that, right? It's interesting that the voice of the individual will quickly change as soon as they walk into their friends, and as soon as they walk into a group of people. It'll automatically, if you're not strong-willed or a stubborn-ass person like me, you'll be quick to change your vernacular a little bit. You'll switch it up a little bit because you don't want to get other people upset. And the vast majority of that group is echoing the one thing. So you go, yeah, what he said. Instantly, instead of relying on your own voice as an individual.
Yeah, it's getting tribal here. I don't know.
More than ever before.
Funny. I don't even really know what you politically believe or don't believe, but who gives a fuck? I get along with you every time I see you. I know you're funny.
That's facts.
I know you're a nice dude. We laugh about shit. We learn shit from each other. You're from Boston. I'm from D.C. It's two very different types of places and types of cultures. But this culture of comedy, this common denominator, makes me feel like we're of the same tribe.
For sure.
And there's trans people in my tribe, and there's white and black and Asian and all kinds of people, and all of them are committed to this concept of levity, and we all get there different and interesting and unique ways. And what's wrong with that? It works. And we say terrible shit to each other all the fucking time. Everyone's fine.
I just found that very interesting, right? As much as we live in this time where, I mean, it's more polarizing than ever. It's more everything's so political. Everything's so politicized, right? More than ever before. That we can't just find a common denominator. That's basically what he's trying to say. Like, we can't all just find a common denominator of like, hey, I like hanging out and talking with Brion, and maybe we don't agree with everything. You know what I mean? Maybe we don't agree with everything. We definitely don't, but that's human. That's human. We could talk about things. Same thing with David. This is my dude right here. By the way, these two people I ain't never met physically in my damn life. Y'all beautiful. But at the same time, I ain't never met y'all in my life. You know what I mean? He could have dead bodies. You know what I'm saying? She could be a private answer. You know what I'm saying? We don't know, but we have a common denominator, and it's respect, and we respect each other, and we could talk about things. And that's the thing. Like, just because Elon Musk, for example, hosts SNL, who cares? Why does that have to be so heavy? Regardless of his opinions, right? He's doing some cool stuff, right? He's doing some cool things with technology, and he's trying to make things better for the world, right? Whether you agree with that or not, I mean, who cares if he goes on there and does his thing? I'm sure he threw SNL a few shekels because their ratings have been sucking for a while. They need the monies, right? Whether you thought his stuff was good or not, it wasn't good, but at the same time, who cares? So it's the same thing. It's like, you know, there's nothing wrong with having your own individual thought. There's nothing wrong with having your own individual opinions and your own individual voice. But we are so quick to clump on to other things and go, oh, F that side because he's right leaning. Bruh, I got plenty of friends that are hardcore conservative. I got friends that are hardcore liberal, and we all get together, you know, have a drink or two and laugh. Because we're supposed to laugh about life. Life is awesome. We should embrace that. Embrace individuality. Eventually, we're all going to be wearing skinny jeans and freaking look like freaking hipsters. We're all going to be gray. Like, that's pointless. What happened to the individual and the embracing of said individuality? That's the thing that I'm trying to point out here. You know, like Breon is an individual. David is definitely an individual. You know what I mean? With his orange ass. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about your shirt. Anyway, you know what I mean? And then I'm weird as hell. You know what I'm saying? But we all express, like, we all understand it, and we all appreciate each other, and we all embrace the fact that we're all individuals. And that's what I think that he was trying to point out, like saying, oh, you know, SNL or all that stuff ain't woke enough. The wokeness that he's trying to talk about is not falling into some sort of box, some sort of cookie cutter thing where you got to go, oh, well, because SNL is more left-leaning, they should only have left-leaning people as hosts on the show. Hell to the no. They should be bringing all types of individuals on that show. That's another level. That's another example of showing wokeness, because you're going, hey, we're open-minded. We can have trans people on here hosting. We can have hardcore Republican, you know what I mean, on here. We could bring Trump back. He can come on to the literally, that's showing wokeness. That's showing open-mindedness. Isn't that what wokeness is? Could have sworn that was. So anyway, that's what I was thinking. David, thoughts?
I mean, I think that is what the idea of wokeness is. I don't think that's necessarily how it plays out in reality. I mean, the idea is definitely that you are more aware of it's like social situations and the like, and they're trying to improve them or whatever. But I have to agree with Dave Chappelle that generally speaking, the tactics of those who at least consider themselves woke has tended towards bullying, and well, most people just don't like dealing with bullies in the first place. I mean, it's further exacerbated too, I think, by a lot of the current situations we're going through, specifically some that require more of a rational bent. I think the wokeism has been associated with a degree of scientific illiteracy, with the emotion over the actual process of science and studying it. I mean, we kind of see this in the fact that ideas cannot be challenged. Challenging an idea does not require the response of debate. It requires the response of silencing and censoring, which is a great way to make sure that your ideas are never peer-reviewed or never checked out to be strong or solid on their own. And I mean, I think that is one of the things that has caused a lot of the problems of late, at least with views towards the idea of wokeism, is that it has been associated with the spread and the reduction of, I think, scientific literacy within the political realm. And it does reduce the degree of challenge and debate that is allowed within there because, again, it defaults to the tactics of bullying and of censoring rather than engagement and debate. And, you can see how effective it is even in dynamically opposed people. I don't remember his name right now, but there is that black guy who goes to all of these KKK meetings and often converts them to be, better, less racist people, gets them out of the KKK and everything. And it's very much a fact that if they were not out in the open and if he was not able to do that, they would just grow in their hatred and silence together by themselves. And instead of being challenged and broken apart, they would become a violent threat like they arguably were in the past, but now everyone has eyes on them, and there are actually not just black people, but there are black people that are going out there and deconstructing their beliefs because those beliefs are out there to be challenged and are out there to be heard, and they're not being reduced to the simple idea that they are white supremacists and cannot be saved or whatever, but he's taking them as people with complex ideas that he can attack this one problem, this one idea of white supremacy that is wrong and dangerous, and still treat them as people overall and try to get them away from that problem. And I don't think that's. I think that's the kind of thing that wokeism, if you want to call it that, kind of prevents with its consistent reductionism in a lot of those areas. And I think that is a problem because these situations are becoming more and more complex and more difficult to handle, but a lot of the times they're being treated more and more simply and thus can never come to an actual resolution that will please anyone.
Brielle.
So there are a couple things. So one of the things I think we're of the things
I got a list. Hold up.
I think that we are missing the art of discourse. I don't think that we are teaching people how to be strong communicators with one another from a young age. It's one thing I remember is learning to communicate, learning to use fact-based logic, and also learning to employ antidotes that are critical to the situation, which kind of leads me to another point of the politicization of viewpoints. One of the things that individuals, I would say more pundits are better at is they're better at saying or pigeonholing people because of their certain view. Oh, because this person's a leftist, therefore they think this way, and they're going to say things like racism, woke, social justice warrior, when they often discount people's experiences. We haven't really, we need to learn how to actively listen to one another in order to get to that point, for example, that Dave Chappelle is talking about. One of the things I think I was on a panel yesterday with Noli D when she went live, and I talked about the fact that oftentimes we belittle people's experiences for the sake of, well, my side says it doesn't exist, and well, I don't understand. Well, why are you discounting my experiences with racism? Like, I've experienced some pretty bad racism. So in my personal eyes, I know that it exists, and I know that it can exist on a level that some people have seen in the 1960s. And that's from being assaulted, that's from being called names, that's from being kept out of like Girl Scouts or being kept off of basketball teams. I know what that feels like. I know what it's like to get kicked out of daycare because people are being racist. Like, these are things that I understand, but when you start to discount even people's experiences, you have a problem. You say, well, that's just anecdotal information. And I'm like, well, what are anecdotes but qualitative data waiting to be formally collected? That's the way we get information. That's the way we break down information into qualitative factual data sets, is by taking those experiences and after experiences and compiling the data with it in order to understand. But I think we've gotten to this point where we don't know how to have proper discourse, so we can't talk to each other. We don't know how to actively listen to each other. We are highly dismissive individuals, especially when we get into our tribes. the other point I wanted to make is we don't know, as David was saying, we have gone away from our scientific mind. We don't know how to use fact-based analytical reasoning skills in order to talk about our points. And I just think that creates a disaster for us as a species, because we're social beings. And I think that tribalism or cult-like behavior, which we see in woketivism, can be part of the problem, is that we lean to thinking that people should lead us. We lean to thinking that only one person or two people have the answer, and we stop thinking for ourselves. But once again, I think that comes from we need stronger education systems. We need stronger family units to teach people how to operate. And we need to be okay with saying some people will be leaders and some people will be followers. But if we're going to be leaders, we need to be held accountable, and we need to be those people who can be cognizant of our own behaviors, are open to being challenged, and are able to have discourse with other people so that we can lead people into a better connections and a better future than what we have going on. Because what we have going on right now is just trash.
It's absolute trash. And I feel like it's, if we continue going down this route, it's going to get, it's already worse. It's already bad. It's going to get worse than what it is right now, But yeah, I think, I have no time personally. I personally have no time to sit there and not. I don't have time for hatred. Let's just say that, because of my preconceived notions of someone who voted for Trump, or someone who is, the antithesis of me when it comes to my own personal political views on how things should be. Now, a full-on racist is another conversation in itself. Okay. I'm not talking about those types of situations. But when it comes to somebody who is a Republican, somebody who's a conservative, somebody who has their own thoughts and ideals, I think it's a waste of time and a waste of energy to put all this energy towards somebody because they just think different than you. I think that's ridiculous. I feel like there can be a common ground. Like, hey, Tyler Perry said it in his Oscar award speech. His humanitarian award speech, where he said, why can't we just meet in the middle? There's nothing wrong with meeting in the middle. You can have your thoughts. You can have your opposing ideals. There's nothing wrong with that. But we can all still be human beings. 'Cause that's the first thing. And we can all get along if we really wanted to try it. It's not that hard, but we make it seem like it's impossible. But that's just us being lazy. It's that whole I'm in the in-crowd high school type mentality. We found our cliques, and so therefore we're only going to be hanging out with our cliques, because they think the exact same way I do, and that's trash. And I've said this a million times on this show, countless times, right? And the fact that we have people that come onto the show, family members on the show that have opposing ideas, I embrace that fully. If we just lived in an echo chamber, we'll never be able to change. We have to talk about things. But we got to talk about them civilly. You know what I mean? We have to talk about them in a civil manner. That's what needs to be happening, instead of it just being like, oh, you voted Trump. Okay, no. It's like, well, he could be the nicest person in the world. You don't know. That don't mean he's such and such. Give him a shot. Give him a try. Same thing. Oh, you're left? Or he's wearing a BLM shirt? Oh, God forbid. Oh, then all of a sudden everyone's like, no. It's like, come on, y'all. We can meet in the middle. We can talk. Anyway, appreciate everybody for being on. That wraps up the show. I know that a bunch of us have to jump off here fairly quickly. David, Brion, thank you so much for being on today. I do really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a good show, man.
Yeah, great show.
Yeah, man. Good conversation today. By the way, something that I really like very, very much is one thing. We got to do one, a shout out, okay? And two, Brion is wearing some fine threads right now. I just want to point that out. She's rocking the Pascal Show tee right now. Splat out. I love it. It's a great color. Looks good on you, girl. The other thing is NRA did something real quick. Shout out to NRA, because she made a dope hoodie. Ner, I need you to make one for me. I want a hoodie I want a hoodie something like along the lines of this. This is dope as hell. She's showing the hoodie right now, Ner, and I love it. I absolutely freaking love it. I want a hoodie just like that. Okay, we need to talk because that's dope as hell. All right, but shameless plug. All right, the tie-dye hoodie is not for sale, but the hoodies and the t-shirts, yes, they're like kind of plain Jane. I'm sorry, but the hoodie and the t-shirts are available right now. There's a link in the bio down below, in the description box down below. Please go rock some hoodies, rock some t-shirts. They got tank tops, hoodies, face masks, socks, you name it. Whatever you want, we got it right there in the merch store. So go and do that. Okay. Again, David, Brion, thank you so much for being on. Y'all are fantastic. It was a great, fantastic show.
Yeah, man. See you tomorrow. Everyone else too.
Take care. Take care, family.
Yeah. And of course, I will see you guys soon. I'll have a couple pop-up videos. I got a video a pop-up video coming out talking about the shooting of another woman by the name of LaToya James. This could possibly be another Breonna Taylor situation going on. I've been deep diving into this conversation or into this story, and so I will be pulling that out here very, very shortly. You guys got to check out this stuff. The body cam footage is just astounding. That's the best way I can put it right now, describing this footage. So be on the lookout for that. We will be talking about that here in a pop-up video. But anyway, if not, I will see you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Be sure to hit that like button. Please crush that subscribe button if you haven't done it yet. And of course, if you want to join the Pascal Show family membership, please, $4.99 helps me keep giving you guys your stories of the day. So please hit that join button down below. That would really be appreciated. Anyways, time to get going. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. And I will see you guys soon. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. All right. This is the Pascal Show. Bye.
Homeowners and property managers, if you're looking for effective and humane ways to remove wild animals and deal with the damage that they have caused, we have good news for you. Introducing Wildlife Command Center, a professional nuisance wildlife management company specializing in providing animal removal for residential, industrial, and commercial clients. We are the only wildlife company that checks 70 different areas on a structure to determine the answers to the following questions. Exactly which animal are we dealing with? How is the animal getting inside the home? What kind of damage is the animal doing to the structure? Once we get the answers to all of these questions, we develop and write up an action plan to resolve the animal issue completely and provide a quote to implement that action plan. We perform a very in-depth 70-point wildlife inspection. From visually inspecting the highest point, the chimney, to physically crawling inside the attic space and looking for animals, chewed wires, fecal matter, chewed structural wood. We inspect everything. Our inspection process covers all of the following 70 points: animal-proof chimney cap, roof ridge vents, roof to soffit junctions, dormer fascia, attic gable vents, gutter lines, fascia trim, garage door, utility penetrations, water, gas, electric, and cable, bathroom vents, attic roof ridge vents, attic electrical, wiring, junctions, boxes, and lighting, concrete decks, additions, wooden crawl spaces, basement plumbing, penetrations, ceiling, floor, and wall. Wildlife Command Center's mission is to deliver the finest quality wildlife removal and pest control service that is safe for the environment. For more information, call us now.